The greatest war you will ever fight is not waged on the battlefield. It is fought in silence behind your eyes, beneath your breath, and within the walls of your own mind. It is a war between the self you allow and the self you could become. It is the unseen battle between faith and fear, between clarity and chaos, between action and paralysis. And if you do not win that war, nothing else will matter. You may possess ambition, but without mental discipline, your ambition will turn into anxiety. You may hold a dream, but if your thoughts are ruled by doubt, that dream will rot in the prison of hesitation. You may even desire wealth or success or love, but if you cannot command the forces of your own thinking, all you will do is sabotage the very things you seek. Listen to me now. This is not a message for the faint of heart. This is a call to those who are ready to stop playing the victim of circumstance and begin building the internal architecture of unshakable success. This is not about fixing your mood. It is about reclaiming your throne as the sovereign of your own mind. You are not here to be a servant of emotion. You are here to be a master of intention. The weak man reacts, the strong man responds. The weak man seeks comfort, the strong man seeks control. The weak man complains, the strong man commands. And the question is not what life throws at you, but what you do with it. Because your power does not lie in your conditions, it lies in your conditioning. Let me show you what I mean. Thought is the seed of all achievement. Every building began as a vision. Every empire began as an idea. Every invention, every revolution, every transformation, all of them first occurred in the private chambers of a man's inner world. The mind is not simply a mirror of life, it is the mold of life. It is not a byproduct of your environment, it is the architect of your reality. But herein lies the danger. If you do not guard your thinking, your mind will be invaded. By what? By the parasites of negative thought, by doubt, worry, fear, jealousy, guilt, anger, and apathy. These are not mere feelings, they are mental viruses. And like any virus, they spread without permission. They replicate without warning. And if you do not contain them, they will turn your highest faculties into your deepest prisons. If you allow emotions to govern your actions, you forfeit your power. But if you command your thoughts, you command your future. Now listen to this universal law. You cannot hold a negative thought and a success thought in the same moment. One must dominate. Thought is singular in focus, exclusive in attention. That is the gift and the curse of consciousness. So the question is not, can I succeed? But can I master the mental patterns that allow success to flow? You can, and not in a year, not in a decade, but in 7 days. 7 days of disciplined application. 7 days of mental training. 7 days of replacing reaction with response, panic with principle, emotion with order. Let us begin now. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now. Because readiness is not a feeling. It is a decision. Day 1, the law of mental neutrality. Before you can master thought, you must first remove the poison of overreaction. Understand this clearly. Emotion is not intelligence. It is a signal, and like any signal, it can be distorted. Most people live in perpetual reaction. They are triggered by opinions, enslaved by headlines, manipulated by the weather, or ruined by what someone did 5 years ago. You must declare your independence. Today is the day you begin your emotional emancipation. That means detaching your identity from your feelings. Your emotions are temporary. Your decisions are eternal. And the man who can separate the two, he becomes dangerous. Mental neutrality is the art of observing your own thinking without being consumed by it. It is the ability to look at fear and say, you may be loud, but you are not in charge. It is the power to witness anxiety but not obey it, to hear the noise but act on reason. Let me make this practical. For the next 24 hours, you will practice the following habit. Whenever you feel a negative emotion, pause. Do not react, do not explain, do not justify. Simply pause and say these words, this is not me. This is a passing state. I am not what I feel, I am what I choose. Say it aloud if you must. Whisper it, write it, repeat it. Do this every time the wave of negativity arises. You are not suppressing the emotion, you are disarming it. And what you will discover is this: emotions are waves, they rise, they fall. But the one who stands on the shore, he is unshaken. And once you realize you are the shore, not the storm, your power begins. Day 2, the power of calmness. There is a reason the strongest men in history are never frantic. True power is always calm. Why? Because calmness is not weakness, it is command. The lion does not panic before it pounces. The general does not scream orders, he speaks with precision. The master of thought does not rush, he rules. Understand the physics of mind. Thought accelerates with emotion. The more emotional you are, the more chaotic your thinking becomes. And in chaos, you do not lead, you follow impulses. You become reactive, fragile, and irrational. This is the mind in bondage. But when you slow the mind, you reveal its structure, you uncover clarity, you regain authority. Calmness is the reset button of the brain. It is the gateway to accurate thought. Today's discipline is this: schedule 10 minutes of complete stillness, no phone, no music, no stimulation, sit in silence, breathe deeply. Not as a form of escape, but as a form of training. You are training your mind to stop chasing every thought that runs across it. You are practicing the art of still command. You will be uncomfortable, that is the point. Discomfort is not the enemy, it is the door. What you are doing is rewiring your nervous system. You are installing a new default setting, calm under pressure. And once this becomes your baseline, chaos loses its power over you. Day 3, the principle of thought first. Most people act first, then think later if they think at all. But understand this law. Your results are not determined by your actions alone. They are determined by the thinking that precedes your actions, thought first always. The principle is simple, yet rarely followed. Think to then act, not feel to then react. If you reverse this sequence, you sabotage everything. Today, you will install a new mental habit. Before every action, pause for 2 seconds and ask, what is the intention behind this? Every email you send, every word you speak, every decision you make, pause and think. You will discover that 90% of your negative experiences come not from others, but from your failure to think first. Thought precedes mastery, and mastery begins with intention. Day 4, the discipline of self-suggestion. Autosuggestion is the act of directing your mind not passively, but forcefully. Every day you are already practicing autosuggestion. The question is, are you doing it on purpose, or are you letting the world suggest your reality to you? The mind accepts repetition as truth. It does not question consistency. It obeys it. So if you consistently tell yourself, I can't focus, I'm overwhelmed, I always fail, your subconscious will believe you, and it will make sure your behavior follows that belief. This is not mysticism. It is mental mechanics. So today, you must begin a new program of suggestion. Write down one sentence that reflects the man or woman you intend to become. Example, I remain calm and in control under all conditions. Now say it aloud, 10 times in the morning, 10 times at night with emotion and belief. You are reprogramming your internal software. You are replacing reactive identity with deliberate identity. What you repeat with conviction becomes your character. Day 5, the science of substitution. The mind cannot hold a vacuum. If you try to remove negative thinking without replacing it, you will relapse. The mind demands a focus. So you must practice the law of substitution. For every negative thought, insert a greater thought. Worried about failure? Replace it with, every failure is the feedback I need for mastery. Feeling rejected? Replace it with, rejection refines my direction. Overwhelmed? Replace it with, I do not need more time. I need more focus. You must make this substitution automatic. How? By preparation. Write down your top 5 most common negative thoughts. Then, beside each one, write a replacement. Carry this with you, memorize it, drill it, make it instinct. Because success is not the absence of thought, it is the presence of the right thoughts. And now that you have these 5 weapons, these 5 ways, you are no longer helpless. You are no longer enslaved by what others say, by what your past did, or by what your feelings suggest. You are the master of the one domain that matters, your inner world. And once you rule your thoughts, you can build any empire you choose. Now that the five principles have been laid as the foundation, not as metaphors, but as marching orders, you must understand that the application is the separation. The gap between the man who dreams and the man who achieves is not talent, it is not fortune, it is not access or upbringing. It is this: the man who applies what he knows will always rise above the man who merely understands it. Thought is the blueprint, action is the builder, and emotional mastery is the cement that makes the entire structure permanent. And this is where most men fail. They learn the truth, they nod in agreement, they say, "Yes, that's powerful," and then they do nothing. And so they wonder why they remain bound, why their lives still bow to fear, still tremble before challenges, still crumble under pressure. It is because knowledge, without self-discipline, is a mirror that reflects possibility but never becomes reality. Self-discipline is the bridge between vision and manifestation, and if you cannot walk that bridge, you will drown in the river of excuses. Let us now move into deeper territory. You have practiced neutrality, you have studied calmness, you have enforced the principle of thought first, installed autosuggestion, and obeyed the law of substitution. That is your base camp. Now comes the climb. And I tell you this: the higher you ascend in thought, the more fiercely your lower habits will try to pull you back. You must now face the enemy not just on the battlefield of habit, but in the arena of identity. Because if your inner world remains chained to the idea of who you were, you will never permit yourself to become who you must be. The identity shift, from slave of emotion to sovereign of thought. Understand this fundamental law of mind. Your behaviors are merely the servants of your self-image. If you believe you are anxious, you will act anxious. If you believe you are indecisive, you will act indecisively. If you believe you are incapable, you will unconsciously sabotage every opportunity for greatness. You do not act according to what you want. You act according to what you are. Therefore, to defeat negative thinking, you must not merely resist it, you must outgrow it. Outgrow the identity that believes in limitation. Outgrow the personality that clings to comfort. Outgrow the story you keep repeating about why you can't change. You are not your history. You are your habits. You are not your trauma. You are your training. You are not your emotions. You are the engineer of your responses. So now I ask you, who are you deciding to be? Not next month, not when the conditions are right, now. Because until your inner identity is elevated, you will forever find a way to return to old patterns, no matter how much motivation you receive. You must rewire the very image you hold of yourself. This is not vanity, this is necessity. So do this tonight. Stand before the mirror and with unwavering command say aloud, "I am the master of my mind, I am calm, I am clear, I am focused, I am deliberate, I act only on purpose, I do not react. I respond." Say it not as an affirmation, but as a declaration. You are not wishing this to be true. You are deciding that it will be true. Because decision, backed by belief, enforced by repetition, becomes identity. And identity becomes destiny. The law of non-reactivity, becoming untouchable. The world will continue to provoke you. Life will test you. People will push your buttons. But when you no longer have buttons, you cannot be pushed. When a man insults you, you smile. When the market crashes, you strategize. When your plans fall apart, you adapt. This is not detachment out of apathy. It is detachment out of authority. You refuse to hand your inner peace over to outer chaos. Because you are no longer a puppet of mood. You are now the master of meaning. Every event in your life is neutral until you assign it power. Most people assign it panic, self-pity, or complaint. You assign it strength, awareness, and redirection. Why? Because you have trained your mind to ask one question in every situation. What is within my control? That question is your sword. And with it, you cut through confusion, victimhood, and overwhelm. If you only did that for 7 days, your life would never be the same. The discipline of focus, directing the inner beam. The mind is like light, scattered, it illuminates nothing. Focused, it cuts through steel. Most people fail not because they lack time, but because they waste attention. They permit distractions to steal their energy. They believe the myth of multitasking. They jump from one dopamine hit to the next and then wonder why their soul feels empty. The man who masters his mind masters his focus. And the man who masters focus, he creates momentum, clarity, wealth, and freedom. How do you master focus? You give it targets. Without a target, the mind wanders. But when you direct it with purpose, it becomes a weapon of extraordinary precision. So every morning, write down the three most important actions that move your life forward. Not busy work, not replies, movement. Then eliminate all distractions and do them. Do them regardless of how you feel. Do them especially when you don't feel like it. Why? Because your feelings are not the compass of your destiny, your standards are. Focus is not a matter of talent, it is a matter of ritual. The final trial, replacing noise with vision. Most people live in reaction to the world, but the great ones live in response to a vision. A clear vision repels distraction. It destroys confusion. It eliminates drama. Why? Because when you are consumed by a mission, there is no room for petty emotion. You have no time for gossip. You have no energy for resentment. You have no interest in seeking approval. You are building something. And builders don't argue with the wind. They adjust their sails and keep building. What is your vision? If you cannot answer that in one sentence, you do not have one. And until you have one, your mind will always default to chaos. You must sit alone with a pen and a blank page and write, "What must I become to live the life I am destined for?" Write without filter. Let the truth bleed out. You will be afraid good. That fear is the old self dying. Then write, "What am I willing to let go of to become that version of me?" Let go of the noise, let go of the opinions, let go of the emotional crutches that keep you weak. This is your rebirth. This is your internal revolution. Because when you replace the noise with vision, you become unshakable. You begin to see every setback as training. You begin to welcome pressure as preparation. You begin to embrace solitude as a sanctuary of thought. And now the war is not over, but you are no longer losing. You are no longer retreating. You are no longer reacting. You are now ruling. You are now responding. You are now rising. And no matter what comes against you, you know one truth. I do not fear the chaos of life because I have mastered the order of my mind. Now that you stand at the threshold of internal mastery, I must give you a warning not to instill fear, but to awaken vigilance. When a man begins to master his mind, the world does not clap. It resists. The old self resists. The environment resists. Even the body, long trained in patterns of reaction, resists. And so I tell you this, the moment you begin to rise, you must prepare for the test. You must prepare to be misunderstood. You must prepare to be alone. You must prepare to confront not only your environment, but your very self-image, the invisible shackles that kept you a servant to fear, doubt, and emotional chaos. Most people do not fear failure. They fear responsibility. Because if they truly believed that their thoughts, habits, and actions determined their outcomes, they could no longer blame anyone else. They would have to own their weakness, and more dangerously, they would have to own their potential. Responsibility is the gateway to freedom, but it is also the death of excuses. The undisciplined mind craves external solutions, but the trained mind says, "If my world is broken, it is because I have not yet built the inner order required to sustain it." You are no longer allowed to be careless with your thoughts, not because you are being punished, but because your life is now sacred. You are no longer the average man. You are now the cause, not the consequence. You are the originator, not the observer. You are the commander of your mental kingdom. And that means everything you allow into your mind must meet a standard of usefulness, a standard of clarity, a standard of alignment with your definiteness of purpose. Let us speak of this now, the first and greatest law of all success. Definiteness of purpose, the pillar that destroys negative thought. If you do not know what you are building, every distraction will seem important. If you do not know what you are becoming, every opinion will influence you. If you do not know your purpose, your emotions will run your life. Definiteness of purpose is the mental anchor. It is the compass in the storm. It is the reason you rise when others quit and the reason you remain stable when others break. When your mind is not anchored to a definite purpose, it floats, and drifting is the breeding ground of negativity. The negative thought does not need proof, it needs permission. And if your purpose is vague, you unconsciously permit doubt, fear, procrastination, and impulse to occupy your mind. But when you are definite, your mind becomes a fortress. Doubt knocks and gets no answer. Fear whispers and is ignored. Distraction tempts and is dismissed. Write this down now. I do not think aimlessly. I think on purpose. My thoughts are architects of action. My action is born from purpose, and my purpose is my unbreakable center. This is not poetry. This is power. And I challenge you right now to define in a single sentence your central mission. Not someday, not when the business grows, not when the pain subsides. Now, because the man without purpose is a leaf in the wind, but the man with purpose is a storm. Mental discipline is a daily war, and you must win it in the morning. If you do not command your mind in the first hour of the day, it will command you for the rest of it. The first hour is sacred. It is where identity is forged. It is where decisions are made. It is where the tone is set. Let me be direct. If you wake up and check your phone before checking in with your mission, you are already off course. You have handed over the wheel to randomness, comparison, and opinion. You must not begin your day by consuming, but by creating. Creating stillness, creating focus, creating clarity. That is how warriors prepare for battle. And if you are serious about defeating negative thinking, you must treat each morning as if it were a battlefield, because it is. And the enemy is not outside. It is in the form of distraction, laziness, and inherited programming. So create a ritual. You rise before the world demands you. You sit in silence before emotion can stir you. You write down your mission before the noise can drown it. You review your identity before the world tries to define it. And then only then do you engage with the world. Because by then, you are no longer reactive. You are ready. The emotionless executor, power without panic. If you seek to be successful not once, not briefly, but repeatedly, sustainably, at the highest level, you must become the emotionless executor. This does not mean you are cold. It means you are clear. You act based on values, not moods. You act on decisions, not doubts. You act on schedule, not circumstance. Because your mood is not your master, your mission is. Do not wait to feel like it. Feelings are weather. Your standards are climate. You show up whether it rains or shines. You execute whether you are praised or ignored. You deliver whether you are inspired or empty. Why? Because greatness is built in the moments no one sees. And if you only act when you feel motivated, then motivation owns you. You do not own yourself. Discipline is doing what you said you'd do long after the mood you set it in has disappeared. So ask yourself today, what is the one thing I must do that would move me forward that, if repeated every day, would change my life? Now do it. And do it again tomorrow. And the next day, not because it feels good, but because it's who you are. Emotion is a tool, not a leader. You must never mistake intensity for intelligence. Anger, jealousy, guilt, shame, they feel strong. But that does not make them wise. Emotion is information. It can signal misalignment, highlight values, expose wounds, but it must never dictate direction. Emotion is the storm, principle is the ship. You steer by principle or you sink. Whenever you feel overwhelmed by emotion, repeat this. I am not this emotion. I am the one observing it. I will respond from wisdom, not react from weakness. Say it aloud. Internalize it. Let it become your reflex. Because those who act from principle become leaders, while those who react from emotion become victims of their own stories. And you are not here to be a victim. You are here to be victorious over fear, over doubt, over chaos. The final lock. Mental environment. You cannot plant seeds of power in soil poisoned by negativity. This means You must become ruthless about what and who you allow into your mental environment. You cannot afford to consume gossip, drama, and nonsense and expect clarity. You cannot surround yourself with negative people and expect positive momentum. You cannot speak words of weakness and expect strength. Guard your mind like a sacred temple, because it is. Audit your consumption. Audit your conversations. Audit your inner dialogue. Ask constantly, is this thought, this word, this influence bringing me closer to mastery or farther from it? This is not paranoia. This is precision. Because your mind becomes the average of what you feed it. You feed it fear, you will live in paralysis. You feed it clarity, you will live in power. You feed it excuses, you will live in cycles. You feed it vision, you will live in creation. And so I leave you with this. Negative thinking is not a trait, it is a habit. And like all habits, it can be broken, replaced, and mastered. In 7 days, with unwavering commitment, you can initiate a revolution in your inner world. You can observe without reacting. You can respond with calm. You can command with clarity. You can direct your mind like a master conductor and watch as your external world bends to the rhythm of your inner authority. Because the moment you stop allowing thought to happen to you and start making thought serve you, you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because you got stronger. And that, my friend, is what unstoppable success is made of. Let no man confuse this message with a motivational speech. This is not entertainment. This is instruction. It is a blueprint for mental emancipation, a doctrine of personal power forged in the fire of discipline, reinforced by the steel of responsibility, and sealed by the refusal to be ruled by anything less than the highest within you. I do not ask you to feel empowered. I command you to be empowered, because emotion fades, but decision endures. Decision, dear listener, is the axis upon which your entire life will turn, and the most critical decision you will ever make is this: I will no longer tolerate disordered thinking. Just as a great builder would never lay bricks without clearing the land, you must now clear your inner terrain of every psychological weed that has grown wild in the gardens of your attention. You must exterminate self-pity. You must uproot chronic worry. You must demolish the inner voices that whisper, you can't. Because until you do, no vision, no plan, no tactic will take root. Let us now move into higher altitude where few dare go. Mental sovereignty is not a gift, it is earned. Understand this: you were not born mentally free. You were born dependent, conditioned, programmed. From childhood, you were given thoughts, not chosen them. You were told what to believe, how to react, what success means, what failure means, what is possible for people like you. And unless you have consciously disassembled these scripts, they are still operating. Right now, this very moment, beneath your goals, beneath your motivation, beneath your ambition, they are the unseen strings. And until you cut them with the sword of self-awareness, you are not acting from freedom, but from inherited limitation. So I say again, mental sovereignty is not a gift. It is earned through the daily work of confronting your programming, examining your beliefs, and rebuilding your inner foundation from truth, not tradition. You must become the architect of your own mind. And you do that with the 3 disciplines: radical self-honesty, deliberate inner language, uncompromising alignment with principle. Let's examine each. Radical self-honesty, the cure for mental delusion. The first discipline is not glamorous. It is not motivational. It is brutal. You must look in the mirror and say, the reason I have not achieved what I desire is because I have allowed negative thinking to occupy space in my mind rent-free. No blaming the economy. No blaming your childhood. No blaming the betrayal, the trauma, the circumstances. You must stare into the abyss of your excuses and say, no more. Because until you do, you will remain the puppet of unconscious stories. Honesty, though painful, is freedom. It is the beginning of order. And most men never reach greatness because they are too weak to confront themselves. They lie about their habits, they soften their truths, they protect their self-image instead of their self-mastery. But you are not most men. You are here because you are ready to wage war against every illusion that has kept your power asleep. You are here to face what others flee from, your own potential. Deliberate inner language. Thought becomes word, word becomes law. Do you know what your greatest enemy is? It is not failure. It is not the opinion of others. It is not even fear. It is the unguarded sentence. Every time you say, I can't, you are practicing weakness. Every time you say, this always happens to me, you are programming failure. Every time you say, I don't know how, you are rehearsing incompetence. Words are not sounds, they are seeds. And your mind is the soil. What you plant, you grow. And the man who repeats limitation becomes the embodiment of it. So you must audit every sentence that comes out of your mouth. And if it is not in alignment with the man you are becoming, you do not say it. You rephrase it, you recode it. I can't becomes, I haven't yet mastered this. I'm tired becomes, I'm recharging for another move. I don't know becomes, I will figure it out. You are not lying, you are leading. Because words spoken with emotion become self-fulfilling prophecy. And your future is always following the trail of your vocabulary. Uncompromising alignment with principle, character over comfort. Now hear this and let it etch itself into your bones. You do not become powerful by doing what feels good. You become powerful by doing what is right. Right, not according to emotion. Right, not according to culture. Right, not according to the crowd. But right according to principle. Principle is eternal. Principle is law. Principle does not bend to your feelings. If you want to defeat negative thinking forever, you must anchor yourself to principle so deeply that no emotion, no criticism, no failure, no storm can pull you from it. And what is the highest principle? That you are responsible for your state of mind at all times. Not sometimes, not when it's easy, not when the world supports you, always. You must hold this principle with unshakable grip. No one and nothing has power over how I think except me. Say that aloud. Again, until you believe it. Because once you believe it, your entire world changes. You stop blaming. You stop complaining. You stop waiting. And you begin building. From defense to offense, creating your inner offensive strategy. Most people live in mental defense. They react, they defend, they survive. You are now going to live on offense. How? You choose in advance how you will think. You do not wait for fear, you prepare for it. You do not wait for overwhelm, you preempt it. You do not wait for chaos, you train for it. This is what I call mental conditioning. Just as the athlete trains for the game, you must train your thoughts before the crisis. Every morning, visualize the challenges you expect, then rehearse your best response. Mentally see yourself calm under pressure. Mentally see yourself responding with poise when insulted. Mentally see yourself executing your plan even when tired. This is not fantasy. This is rehearsal. And repetition creates readiness. You will walk into the battlefield of life already victorious because your mind has already been there, already won. The standard of victory, not perfection, but mastery. Do not confuse this discipline with perfection. You will slip. You will falter. A negative thought will sneak in. But here is the difference between the amateur and the master. The amateur indulges the thought, the master interrupts it. You must become a master of the interrupt. Catch the thought. Pause. Replace. Repeat. Like a warrior practicing his sword draw, you will get faster, sharper, more precise. And eventually the negative thought no longer finds a home in your mind. It shows up and leaves, uninvited, because you've raised your standards, because you've trained your reflexes, because you are no longer a victim of thought, you are the author of it. And that is when the world begins to respond to you differently. People feel your clarity. Opportunities align with your decisiveness. Life stops testing you because you have passed the exam. You have become a man who commands his mind. And when a man commands his mind, he commands his destiny. For in truth, what you have done over these past 7 days, or what you will begin to do now with complete ruthless intensity, is not merely a series of exercises in thought, it is a resurrection, a return, a homecoming. You have not been learning how to defeat negative thinking. You have been reclaiming the throne of your mind. And what you must now understand is this: negative thinking is not some external force that attacks you from the shadows. It is the mental consequence of drifting, drifting from purpose, drifting from order, drifting from responsibility. It thrives in the absence of attention. It festers in the absence of direction. It conquers in the absence of standards. And so the man who will never again be ruled by negativity is the man who refuses to drift. You do not drift when you live on schedule. You do not drift when you speak from principle. You do not drift when your vision is so clear it silences every doubt. That is the man you have chosen to become, not by birth, not by circumstance, by decision. And that decision has a name, the decision of power. I am the cause, not the effect. Repeat that now. I am the cause, not the effect. Say it again with the authority of a man who refuses to bow again to fear. This is not philosophy. This is the keystone of greatness. You see, average minds ask, why does this keep happening to me? Powerful minds ask, what is this trying to teach me? But masterful minds say, how can I use this to build my destiny? You have shifted from passive to active, from reaction to initiation, from complaint to command, from drift to drive. And now nothing can stop you. Not because you are perfect, but because you are centered. Not because you never feel fear, but because you know how to move through it. Not because the world became easier, but because your inner world became stronger. This, my friend, is true invincibility. And now I offer you this final tool, a mental weapon to carry with you into every battle, every boardroom, every decision, every dark night of the soul. The personal constitution, your code of mental sovereignty. Write it, live by it, speak it, guard it, sharpen it. Let it be the law that governs your internal kingdom. Here is a model, but you must shape it with your own words, your own fire, your own clarity. My personal constitution. I do not react to life. I respond from clarity, principle, and vision. I do not tolerate negative thinking. I intercept it, reframe it, and replace it with thoughts that build, serve, and empower. I am emotionally neutral when making decisions. I trade impulsiveness for intelligence. I keep my promises to myself. My word is law in my universe. I create stillness every day. From that stillness, I command the storm. I focus only on what moves me forward. Everything else is noise. I speak only what reinforces my highest identity. I do not speak weakness into existence. I rise early. I command my day before the world can influence my direction. I do not wait for motivation. I act on standard. I am the architect of my mind, the engineer of my thoughts, and the builder of my life. Print it, memorize it, guard it like treasure, because the mind without a constitution falls into mental anarchy. And the final step? You teach this. You speak it to your family. You embody it for your children. You live it in your business. You walk it into every room, not as arrogance, but as silent clarity. Because now, you no longer ask the world for permission. You bring your own atmosphere. You walk into chaos and bring order. You step into confusion and bring vision. You enter emotional turbulence and bring calm. You don't chase success. You become the type of man it chases. Because success is not attracted to noise. It is magnetized to mastery. And so, now, we conclude this 7-day ascent not with applause, but with inner stillness. With a decision that no emotion, no circumstance, no memory, no failure, no opinion shall rule over your mind again. Because the war is over, and the throne is yours. You are no longer living by chance. You are living by choice. You are no longer thinking out of habit. You are thinking with intention. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are creating it, one thought at a time, one decision at a time, one principle at a time, one standard at a time. And if ever you forget who you are, remember this. The most powerful force in your life is not your past. It is the story you choose to believe from this moment forward. Write a new story. Start now. And never again hand your mind over to anything less than greatness. Your future depends on it. And it begins the moment you think like it.